Well, it just seems like minutes ago we were doing this. Here's the C part of this third video. Or I don't know, is it 5 videos, 5th video, or is it the third video with 3 parts or whatever? Global markets. Check out the syllabus. Oh yeah, global marketing and ethics. Here we go. And then we'll have it accomplished. Here is an outline that is pretty rudimentary. There's not much to it. This is outline number 55 or handout 55. How covered in this class? Reasons for the importance of international. Okay, there you go. It kind of relates, but how have we covered it in this class? Well, some of the cases we did had an international angle. Let's see. How about Aqualisa? How about, didn't the Harrington collection have a little bit? I mean, like, weren't we going to manufacture in Mexico? How about Malaysian airline? Santa Fe relocation, yes. Upcoming, we've got, what do we got? We've got Blair water filters, okay? So yeah, Blair is off in India. So some of the cases we've done have dealt with international markets. But I think one of the main things that I see is that there's universality of some of these topics. What do you think? I mean, how about strategic planning and the basics of strategic planning, vision, mission, objectives and goals, the strategies, the how-to, and then moving from strategic, art of the general kind of stuff to day-to-day maneuvers like the implementation, application areas. So you got a whole idea of strategic planning. How about the 2 major areas of marketing decision-making? Target market decisions with segmenting, positioning. I think that carries across international boundaries. How about the 4 Ps? Working with the marketing mix, price, product, place, promotion. You know, how about thinking about response functions to some of these, like we just talked about? How's the market going to respond to changes in price, promotion? Okay, so strategic planning, target market decisions, marketing mix decisions, universal, as far as I can tell. How about thinker toys? These models that aid in decision-making, the product life cycle and the GE multi-factor and the growth strategy matrix, and you know, how about the consumer behavior model? How about the value creation model? Maybe that's separate. Maybe that's, you know, think about it as a thinker toy, maybe. But the idea of creation, communication, and delivery of value, fundamental. That's fundamental. Not married to cultural differences, I don't believe. So that's a little perspective on how we've done, I think, how we've attacked international markets already in this class. So how to increase value by increasing benefits, reducing cost. Yes, the definition of marketing, satisfying needs and wants through the exchange process, or the communication delivery, creation, communication, delivery of value. So here are a couple bogus kind of, whatever. Are they bogus? I don't know. There's a couple, they're still recording, thank God. Okay, I know you're thanking God for that. Are these American brands? Who knows? The market's always changing. Alka-Seltzer, German. Purina Dog Chow, Switzerland. Good Humor, Adidas shoes are German. Super Glue, US, okay, whatever. How about, oh, exports as a percent of GDP or GNI, whatever, different measures. What's it? Look at exports, 10% in the US. Look at Germany, Canada, 39, 37, Japan, 12%. What's this say? This speaks of big markets at home, dynamic markets at home. Not a lot is from exports. It's consumed internally versus other countries. That talks about strength of home markets. Holy cow, how about, what do you guess? Who's the US's biggest trading partner in billions? Biggest trading partner. Thank God for China, I guess. But they're not always number one, okay? You'd think but this changes year to year. Here's a year. How about Canada? And Mexico. Yeah, our neighbors. Canada and Mexico up there. Japan, yeah. Okay, and there's China. But our biggest trading partners. Okay, so there's some fun international facts. Let's do the Gemawatt article right here. What do you say? Jade. Hot dog Jade. Gemawatt. And let's see. Oh, yeah. You know, one of the things you had here was this interesting kind of angle. We had the three A's. We had adaptation, global strategy with local tactics, adaptation. We had aggregation, standardizing to obtain across international markets. So we had adaptation, global strategy, local tactics, aggregation, standardizing to obtain economies of scale. Then we had arbitrage, which is used a little differently, not exchange rates or hedging kind of stuff, as you usually think of arbitrage, but it's exploiting differences across borders, okay? And so they give you some metrics in here. You're trying to balance these two things, or three things, okay? Three things. So here's a couple things. The global or world brands, I think in this article they call it global brands or world brands, the same product, marketing strategy, and strategy implementation in several different countries. This is like aggregation, the economies of scale thing. So that's global or world brands, where these things are the same. Versus, product, the product, marketing strategy, strategic implementation, pretty much the same across international markets, aggregation kind of aspect from this Gemawatt article. But then you got the idea of a global strategy with local execution or implementation. This is the adaptation thing. Thinking globally, but acting locally is kind of adaptation. So that's what Gemawatt's doing. He's got this trifecta kind of thing, these three deals, and you usually can't do all three of them. So maybe two would be pretty good if you can do two. But that's what's going on there. So catch that, what a world brand or a global brand is, and the idea of global strategy versus, global strategy with local execution or implementation. And I add that to what you see out there from Jade, and everything will be hunky-dory, whatever that means. Okay, so the BEST chapter has no international stuff. There's no chapter in BEST on international stuff. It doesn't do much with it, period. But again, you got the concepts. Concepts are generic and transferable across countries. So that's kind of what I see. But there are some cross-cultural difficulties and differences that maybe you should be aware of, and have, maybe you've heard stories, or maybe some of you had LADA for international marketing, or maybe in some CB class that kind of got at lifestyle and stuff like that. So here are a couple things. maybe some of you have seen some of these before. Oh yeah, you know, what percent of, okay, how many hours? Okay, this is hours, not percent. How many hours do Americans spend on household chores other than cooking? Here we're comparing Italians versus Americans. This is like Swiffer was kind of interested in this, you know? How many hours spent on household chores other than cooking in Italy versus the US? Procter & Gamble's kind of interested in this. And so, I don't know if you can you read that? I don't know if you can. What if I zoom it? Still not focusing, is it really? Where's it focused? Right there. Italian women keep some of the cleanest houses around. They spend an average of 21 hours a week on household chores other than cooking, compared with 4 for Americans. Italians' kitchen and bathroom floors they wash them at least, how many times? 4 times a week. Americans just once. Italians typically iron nearly all their wash, even socks and sheets. What the heck? Okay, so you got some cultural, Procter & Gamble is interested in that. Here's when I had an epiphany, you know, of course, Italy in the news these days. I mean, how about this one? This is when I had an epiphany a few years ago. Florida Natural, awesome fruit juice nuggets. The Florida's natural. Yeah, fruit juice nuggets. And then, on the back, you can't see it, trust me. Here's a food item. And it says, you can't read it, made in China. That was an epiphany for me. Man, all the stuff from China, yeah, I get that. But food items imported, Florida's natural, whatever they are, awesome juice nuggets imported from, made in China. That was kind of an epiphany. Like, God, what? That's an unusual world that we live in. This is from, about the American buffeterant. A buffeterant is like a buffet restaurant. And this was in Singapore. And you got this picture of this yummy chunk of fish with the gray veins in it and stuff, with all this crap on top of it. And I'm going, yummo. Okay, I don't know. The American buffeterant. I'm not a fan, necessarily. Okay, we're talking about international markets. Here is a thing called the Warfian hypothesis. What's the Warfian hypothesis? There's a guy named Worf, W-H-O-R-F, and language we use determines how we experience the world. Of course, what comes first, the world we're in or the language you use to describe it? For instance, you know, Saudi Arabians have a lot of words for camels, male camels versus female, young versus old, different colors of camels, a camel that had a dead calf, racing camels, traveling camels. Okay, I don't know how many words for camels we have, but how about ice and snow? I think maybe in Arabic, maybe like one word covers ice and snow pretty much. Whereas Inuits have like 34. How many do we have? How many words for snow do you have? Corn, powder, sleet, frozen. How about frozen water? Hail. Okay. Inuits, 34. Arabic, 1 for all kinds of frozen. Okay. So here's a little picture. Here's the color spectrum in different languages. In English, we've got purple, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. And in the Shona language, I think that's Liberian, Shona? Is that Liberian? Do you care? Shona. Do I know? Oh yeah, it's in here someplace, but trust me, it's Shona, Zimbabwe. It's from Shona language, Zimbabwe. You know, here we got Kipswaka, Satima. What's this one? Sasina, Sipwaka. Okay, they kind of eliminate some of the colors, but look at this one. This is Bassa, the Bassa language, which is in Liberia. Is that right? You don't care, but Liberia. All the cool colors are one word. They don't make a distinction between purple, blue, and green. Hui. Hui. Is that hui? How do you pronounce that? And then the hot colors, yellow, orange, and red. Ziza. Okay. So, okay. This is just language. Just looking at the language people speak. There's one little piece of culture, language. You go beyond that. Think about all the interpersonal, relational, all the traditional, whatever. So here we're just looking at color. I see, you know, and we talked about other language things like camels and snow and stuff. But the world looks different to people because of language, just that one cultural difference. So crossing cultures, yeah, we got some things that are universal. Back to the idea of global strategy, but local implementation. And some of it will be because of some cultural things that might be significant, might have a significant impact. I want to do this last, oh, well, no, okay. Because I'm running out of steam. I don't know if you think I can do this all day long, every day. Here's a guru in marketing. His name is Phil Kotler. I don't know if you've used a book by Phil Kotler from Northwestern University. He's been around for a year or two and pretty well known in the marketing area. And Phil's talking about opening markets. Let's see if I can find what I'm after. Let's not abuse this pause button, but it's kind of handy. Okay, so Phil Kotler talked about something called mega marketing years ago. And it was the idea of influencing third parties to open up markets. So third parties be like government, unions, special interest groups. So what he's saying is that many markets, international in particular, but domestic also, are closed by invisible or visible barriers. Okay, they're closed with some barriers. So as the world becomes more one world marketplace, maybe being able to open these, get past these barriers is important. So he talked about a couple ways, two ways. One's the easy way. You give away things, you give in, you lose money. That's one way to get into markets. And then the hard way, using your skill and to make the project viable and profitable. So closed markets could be internet, could be domestic, but international in particular. Some barriers, visible and invisible. And so what he's proposing is pumping up a couple, adding some P's to the marketing mix to get into these international markets. Power, politics, and then, you know, public relate. Okay, so you got this idea of clout that you might have, ways that you can exercise that clout. And power, public relate, politics. And then he also mentioned public relation. This is kind of schmoozing your way to opening those. So how do you open those closed markets? Power, politics, public relations, you know, kind of schmoozing your way in. So it's kind of mega marketing, adding a couple, emphasizing public relations, part of the P for publicity really, but and adding power to it. Okay, so that's what he's saying. There's a little deal on international markets there. But But beyond that, he talks about a hidden P, another P, a hidden P. One thing when I've talked about this, and particularly in a graduate class, how can you get a license, a driver's license in different countries? As far as I know, in the US, it's pretty much one way to get a driver's license. I mean, maybe there's the below the table kind of stuff somewhere, somehow, or the counterfeits. I don't know. But pretty much one way. You take the test, and you pass the test, written and driving, and you get a license. Other countries, do you even have to show up for the test? If there is one, can't you just mail in the money and get the driver's license, or pay somebody, get the driver's license? So, whatever experience you might have or know about international markets, there might be more than one way to get a driver's license. That points up the hidden P of international markets. And what's the hidden P? We have the 4 Ps of the marketing mix. We got power and politics, as one, and then we got public relations. How about the hidden P of international markets? Payoffs. And it's in some parts of the world, that's the way the world works. And the US kind of takes the high road, and I think more countries have kind of joined in. But back in when did this come into existence? The FRCP. What the heck is the FRCP? Would you like to know? The FRCP. Or was the FCRP? God, maybe I better get it. Maybe I better get the initials right. How about the FCPA? Okay, I was off to another. Okay, the FCPA. Would you like to know what that is? It's the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and this is the U.S. It's almost by itself in the world with this 1977 FCPA. I don't know where I was. Okay, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, that it's illegal for U.S. companies to get business via bribes. And does this happen? Let's see what I've got here. What year is this one? This is 2014. HP settles bribery investigation that cost them $108 million in a corruption case dealing with spanning Russia, Mexico, and Poland. They were bribing folks, and they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Multi-million-dollar contracts by bribing folks. The FCPA, violating the FCPA, and that's they got charged $108 million. But how about this one? Let's see what yours is. Oh, the same year, 2014. That's not so long ago. Alcoa snared in Bahrain bribery case. It's got, okay, the FCPA, Foreign Corrupt Practices. Okay, it's got teeth. It's got big teeth. Alcoa pled guilty in federal court for bribing officials in Bahrain. The scheme generated nearly $500 million in profits. And what was the fine? Alcoa agreed to guarantee payment of $250 million in fines. And agreed to pay $161 million civil penalty of its own. So 223 for majority-owned companies that they were part of, So ACOA and affiliates agreed to pay $384 million to settle with the US. Okay, yeah, $384 million to settle with, okay. So which smoothly transitions from, oh, should we do this? This smoothly transitions from international markets to ethics, the concept of ethics. Let's see. Looking around, hang on. And here's okay, before I leave international markets, totally. Corruption by country. This is a corruption scale. And it looks at police corruption, business corruption, political corruption, and comes up with a scale. And the least corrupt countries in the world are, drum roll, please. Well, of course, the Scandinavian, kind of proud of my Scandinavian heritage. Iceland, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway are all in the top 8. And then you throw in New Zealand and Singapore and Switzerland, but okay. Least corrupt. Those are the least corrupt. They have high numbers on the scale. Low numbers mean you're more corrupt. And at the bottom end, let's see, United States is number 17. Italy is number 40. Mexico is number 65. China, number 78. India, number 88. We're going down here. Russia, number 127. At the bottom, we have Chad, Bangladesh, Burma, Haiti, Turkmenistan, Nigeria, Angola, a couple other stands, Pakistan, Tajikistan, and okay, for what that's worth. It's corruption scale, which smoothly, we're transitioning smoothly into the topic of ethics. So what are ethics? You know, let me move some more stuff here. So ethics, principles of right or good conduct, or a body of such principles. Principles of right or good conduct, or a body of such principles. So that's what ethics is. And let's see if we can do something with this pretty quick here. First, here's this. So ethics, 56, crisis, what is ethics, AMA code. Are you a Machiavellian marketer? Lessons from history. Okay, so the AMA, the American Marketing Association Code of Ethics, that kind of goes on a bit. I don't think you got a copy of it in. I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is for professional marketers. It goes on and on. There it is. The basic rule, right here, it says the basic rule of professional ethics is to not knowingly do harm. How's that? It's kind of, you can hardly read it. The basic rule, not knowingly do harm. Basic rule of professional ethics, not knowingly to do harm. Yeah. And then what it does, it goes beyond that. It talks about ethics with regard to the P for product, the P for promotion, the P for distribution, the P for price, research, hustling business under the guise of doing research. This thing goes on and on. This is for the AMA, the American Marketing Association Code of Ethics, basic rule not to knowingly to do harm. There it is. Okay, so That's that's what that is. And then let's look at a couple of things you've got in your packet here. This is, oh, I gave it to you. Yeah, American Code of Ethics, American Marketing Association Code of Ethics. Check it out. Number 58, handout 58. There it is. Handout 57. Oh, I learned this from Arthur Anderson. Who in the heck are they? Remember Enron? They're the company that went down the tubes. It had been around for years. I went to a, where the heck is it? Oh, I went to a seminar they put on for business profs. Arthur Anderson Business Ethics Program. It's kind of ironic. And here, you know, this is kind of like the steps of the case analysis process. It kind of looks that way, you know. We've got the facts, that's like the situation. We got the ethical issue, what's the problem? We got alternatives, like alternatives, got stakeholders like individuals, corporate and systemic, back to the broader world at large. And then the ethics of the alternatives, kind of evaluating them, evaluating stakeholders, and then practical constraints, things you can do, things you can't do, and take action. That's like a model for attacking ethical dilemmas. Let me look here. Yeah, it's like step of case analysis. Just thought I'd find this where it's kind of laid out there for you. Situation of values like the facts, problem is like the ethical issue, alternatives or alternatives, evaluation of who's impacted, evaluation of what are the alternatives, problem, practical constraints, that's like evaluation of problems with your solution, and then recommendation. That's a little model for handling ethical issues, okay? And then what other handouts do we have here? We got the NEMA, oh, two more. So thinking about the ethics of situations. How about this one? This is number 59, lying. Oh, geez. The important thing is to stop lying to yourself. A man who lies to himself and believes his own lies becomes unable to recognize truth in either himself or anyone else, and he ends up losing respect for himself as well as for others. When he has no respect for anyone, he can no longer love. And in order to divert himself, having no love in him, he yields to his impulses, indulges in the lowest forms of pleasure, and behaves in the end like an animal in satisfying his vices. And it all comes from lying to others and lying to yourself. That's from Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. Whoa, that's a slippery slope, eh? All from lying. Check that out. That's an interesting quote. 59. Oh, and then it is a jungle out there. And here, this is for you. This is number 60. You can color that. Yeah, you got anything? This is like staying at home, social distance kind of activity. I don't know when the last time was you used crayons, but there you go. Color that in and scan it and send it to me out on Blackboard. I'm kind of kidding, but okay, there that is. There that is, okay? That's the jungle. And there you are, that little innocent lamb in the middle of that quagmire and all those beasties surrounding you. Get your crayons out. Try that out, kiddies. And one last thing. God, should we do this or should we not do this? Here's a scale. Here's a scale. I ask you some questions. Strongly disagree is a 1. Strongly agree is a 7. So strongly disagree, slightly disagree, neither agree or disagree, slightly agree, strongly agree. Okay, so it goes from strongly dis to strongly agree. And here's some questions. Try this out. Here, let me put that right smack there and turn that a little bit. Honest to God, this is the last thing if my computer stays on through this whole deal. Here's some questions. You might have to play these back. Here's a question. Use this scale and then sum up and times by 4, add 20. Okay, but here you go. Here's the first question. The best way to handle people is to tell them what they want to hear. Scale. Go back if you need to. The best way to handle people is to tell them what they want to hear. Give it a number. There's 5 of these. Number 2, it's hard to get ahead without cutting corners here and there. Strongly disagree, strongly agree. Give it a number. 3 more. People suffering from incurable diseases should have the choice of being put painlessly to death. People suffering from incurable diseases should have the choice of being put painlessly to death. Strongly disagree, strongly agree. 2 more. Most people forget more easily the death of their father than the loss of their property. Most people forget more easily the death of their father than the loss of their property. Scale. Last question. Generally speaking, people won't work hard unless they're forced to do so. Generally speaking, people won't work hard unless forced to do so. 5 questions. Here's the scale. Times it by 4, add 20. And this is a Machiavellian scale. Are marketers Machiavellian? Well, no more so than other people in the world, actually. You can't label a whole discipline. But let's see. If you're, God, can I find it here? It's a Machiavellian scale. Scores above 100 are generally considered very high. Scores below 70 are relatively very low. So above 100 is very high. If you go through this, you have to play this back and mess with it. Above 100 are very high on the Machiavellian scale, and below 70 are very low. What's Machiavellianism? It's this amoral or immoral kind of perspective, definition of a 20th century Machiavellian. Machiavelli is buried in the Santa Croce Church in Florence. A Machiavellian administrator and modern Machiavellian, one who employs aggressive, manipulative, exploiting, and devious moves in order to achieve personal and organizational objectives. There you go. And are you a Machiavellian marketer? On that happy note, okay, I'll send an email that tries to defend what I've just done. And there you go. We did everything that was listed, plus maybe a couple bonus things, like maybe this Machiavellian scale, maybe that's a bonus. Get a hold of me if you need me to retire. Well, maybe we could all vote. When should a guy retire, do you think? When he's 60, 65, 70? Let's keep going. How old is this guy? God, give it up. Okay, bye.